and we're going to make one universal global database. Not a world computer like people say, a network system, the world. We are going to do one global connected data source. Because when we have one global connected data source, that's when it's atomic. That's when we really know what we have, what we're storing. When we can securely do all this, when we can set people up with unclonable devices, which exist right now, we can securely give access. We can put backup strategies. The reason we have all these script things that people sit there going, ooh, that looks too complex, your script will be too big. Good. Look at it. Right now, you install something on Windows. It's not 1K anymore. Get over it. Windows, it's gigabytes. And you're talking about, oh no, that's a 10K script. Whoopee. I mean, my Pac-Man machine's more complex than that right now. I mean, it's time to get out of the 70s. Pac-Man was nice. It's had its day. Let's build something bigger. Let's build something more robust. Let's give people back their data. Let's give them control of their life. So, this is why I'm saying Silicon Valley is the cancer. Because they want to take you. That's how they make their money. They want you. They want to say how wonderful and beautiful you are so that they can get you to come on their platform and click more. There are whole teams in Facebook whose jobs are just there to keep you addicted, to keep you clicking, because every click makes them money. They are there to dumb you down. When the movie Idiocracy was actually filmed, the guy thought, this might be America in 200 years. He did an interview recently where he said he's really sad because he didn't think he was making a documentary. And it's going that way. And it's Twitter, and it's Facebook, and it's all the other social media that they're trying to drive us into. Not so that you own your data, not so that you manage your friends, not so that you can block people who troll you, not so that you can decide if someone is attacking you or harassing your children to get rid of them, so that you can control that. They don't want that. They want fights. Twitter wants people to sit there and argue. They want to bring out the most vile, base human instinct and promote it. They want a demagoguery, not a democracy. We're going to bring it all back. We're going to give you control, not managing you like children, letting you be adults, letting you own your own lives and control what gets out there, what data you put out. So we want a new model of everything. Not just digital cash, not just smart contracts, which is a terrible term really because smart contracts aren't smart and they're not new. EDI came out in the 1970s and there is nothing in smart contracts in Ethereum that isn't an EDI. Sorry. I mean, it's got special source. It's got Grondo. Grondo has electrolytes, yes. So does Ethereum. Yay. I mean, so I'm here telling you, after 4 years of telling you that we're going to scale, that we're going to keep scaling, but it's boring. Now we're going to do something more. Now we're going to totally revolutionize everything. We're going to have all these nodes set up with different areas of transactions, different areas of data, and not even hand everything to everyone. We don't need to. You don't want to validate that guy's transaction when he's got nothing to do with your exchange. We're going to make edge devices, cluster devices, etc. And we're going to totally rebuild everything. Because I'm sick of the promises of flying cars that give us 140 more characters. I want a world where we're going to start building, where we're going to create, and we're going to give people economic freedom to do this, because if they want to go out there and contract their time, or they want to be an employee, or they want to do whatever else, it's their choice. Thank you.
So, Craig, stay here. I'm going to ask you provide a couple of audience comments and questions before we wrap up the day. The first actually really isn't a question, but I just wanted you to know that someone said, "My boyfriend is watching you and fangirling like a 13-year-old girl." You have any idea who that might be, Craig?
No, I don't know any 13-year-old girls. My daughter's older than that now.
Yeah, and I know she's not fangirling over you at all.
Not unless I give her something.
She doesn't like it when you talk about Bitcoin at all.
No. If I gave her shoes.
Yeah, you gave her shoes, but she likes that the Bitcoin buys her shoes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. All right, here's a more serious question, which is, one of the topics that has not come up in terms of a possible use case for BSV is political data. And someone wants to know, well, why aren't we talking about political data, especially given the types of things that need to be saved and collected, expenses, revenues, voting laws? There has been an attempt to create a blockchain voting application on BSV down in Australia. But what's your thoughts about that, especially given all the controversies we had in our last U.S. presidential election about the accuracy of election tallies?
Voting is hard. So some people know, but I was on the technical team for the New South Wales Electoral Commission and helped implement iVote many years ago. It wasn't rolled out extensively because voting is hard. It was given remotely to soldiers because, well, there was a level of trust in that the guy on the naval ship wouldn't sort of be bumping off his shipmate to make a vote or something silly. There were disabled people because we need to give them access. But opening to the general population is difficult because we are missing something. We're missing identity and ability to prove who did things. We can start building that, but we haven't got there yet. And I know there are people doing this. If we start attesting on-chain, we prove our identity on-chain. We build up, and identity is not just a driver's license, contrary to what people think. Identity is your life. If you own your data, all this stuff that I'm talking about will enable identity on-chain, privately. It will be, this is me going to uni. This is me in my job. This is me, etc. That's your identity. It's your life. It's your friends. It's your neighbors. It's your house. It's your kids. It's you. That's identity. And that's what we need to start saving. Not Facebook owning it, you. And it won't work on Facebook and Twitter because when they own it, there's a problem. When you own your own information, when you control it all, it's different. So
I'm going to ask you a question for myself. When you were inventing Bitcoin, the social media applications that have taken rise today, such as you've mentioned, Facebook and Twitter, were in their very nascent stages, or some didn't even exist at all. So what inspired you to have the idea of creating a better internet, which we now call the MetaNet? And why did you think that was possible with the Bitcoin blockchain that you created?
Well, I wasn't actually sure, to be completely honest.
No, really? You're not sure about something?
Well, I hoped.
Yeah, okay.
But
good.
like everything, you don't know. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say it was perfect, I did all this stuff, and I just knew it was going to work. Well, I threw a lot of money at it, and I hoped.
I think this is the first time I've ever heard you say that something you conceived was not perfect.
Yeah.
Mark this moment down in history. Is someone recording this to the blockchain right now? Because please record this moment. Anyway, so what inspired you to think this was possible on the Bitcoin blockchain?
So going right back to the 1990s, there were always problems with the internet. Credit cards never worked securely. There was no real method, and there still isn't, apart from Bitcoin, of paying small payments. This whole thing in the front of the white paper that everyone ignores, small, casual transactions. I can't go and buy a page of a newspaper without buying a chunk right now or giving them access. I want to get a page at a time for a cent. I don't want horrible paywalls that take way too much money because Visa wants 30% of my money. That's not going to work. On the other hand, if I can read only the thing I want, better.
One article at a time instead of a monthly subscription or annual subscription. 2 more questions and we'll wrap up. What's the first bottleneck to open up to make the next 10 times scaling move?
Okay, so more machines, more communication. The reason 2014-15 I was playing with sort of backplane communications, etc., InfiniBand, all these things, is that's what we need to really get to. What Steve's been playing with is good for where he is. We need to now move away from internet connectivity and have true native backplane connectivity between some of these devices that are talking at wire speed. It's doable. It was doable 5 years ago, so it's doable now. If people can get 100,000 machines, and there are TN2 and 3, 100,000 machines talking in nanoseconds, we can do this, and we can. But it's a new layer of hardware abstraction. It's not just the typical, I'm going to buy myself a Raspberry Pi. We actually need specialized machines now, and we're going to move to that. So just like ASICs with specialized machines, we'll have specialized backplanes and change the nature of servers.
We're getting a lot more questions in, so if you want to hear more from Dr. Wright, clap. Otherwise, okay. Enough clapping. Here's a good question. What cold wallet would you recommend for BSV? I already know what your answer to this is going to be.
I think something needs to be built better. The honest truth is, if we were to set up a well-constructed near-field type device, such as a YubiKey, programmed properly, that would do a base key that is never used. What should then happen, using, just to not hopefully lose too many people, use the functionality of ECDSA to have an additive key. Create, using a HMAC function, a new address that is shared, add the two together, sign with the joint key. And no one's doing that in hardware right now, but it is doable. We've got IP on that already. So if we can do it, that should be created. That will enable a secure device that every single time you want a key, it'll be new. Every possible transaction, none of this stuff with Ledger saying we can't support, any transaction would be doable.
This is a really good question related to the concept of having our personal data available on chain. How do you get all your information back once it's already become readily available and sold?
So I mentioned broadcast encryption. There are revocable key systems in broadcast encryption because they work on multiple key layer. This was actually quite common during the days of satellite transmission, because what you would do is you would sell the satellite box, and then only certain people would get access to one channel, only certain people would get another access, and you could revoke it over time. That's why I'm saying we're going to bring back some old encryption that most people on the internet have just gone, we don't want broadcast to lots of people anymore. This is the internet. We can go one-to-one. But we can use the same key structures so that we can now do one-to-many broadcast structures where someone can actually revoke, and there's a revocable key structure.
Are offline transactions possible in the future?
Depends on what you mean by offline transactions. I mean, yes, I should be able to not connect to the internet and give someone a signed transaction directly and have them at their leisure send it, in which case that's offline. But someone eventually has to send it to the network. It doesn't need to be instant.
Got it. Just a couple more and then we'll wrap up. Here's a question from me. Today, the country of El Salvador adopted legislation that was proposed by the president and enacted by its parliament legislature today to have the country require that Bitcoin be recognized as legal tender. So merchants, for example, must accept Bitcoin as